I'm late. Hello everyone. Welcome to Star Ocean, the second story. I'm Arlia, and this is, very overdue. So much so that a completely new remaster came out, so why am I even playing the original PS1 version when the shiny new edition is out? The reason is because we wouldn't have that shiny remaster without this version. It was always my intention to do this version too, because I wanted to just kind of go through it again and pick it apart. Everything about it in terms of its development. Especially the localization. How bare bones is it? What do we kind of get through it? Especially when you look at the original PS1 version, and now the new Second Story R. Second Story R is rated T. This version is rated E. So there were tiny, important things that changed what that entails. If I were to describe Second Story in one word, it would be cherished. Before the remaster came out, I would have said that this was also neglected because all of the mainline Star Ocean games were available on modern consoles except for this one. But that's changed, luckily. Now there's only one true neglected entry in the series. We'll get to that eventually, but for now, it's time to wrap up something that I have left on the back burner for way too long. Look at that Times New Roman. My goodness. Anyway, we have some setup to do for this playthrough specifically. One is going through the voice collection. You heard that chime? That chime is very important. Now, the voice collection is something that you continuously unlock as you play the game. Every time you hear a specific voice clip, it gets unlocked here.
Poison pills! Poison pills! I don't have time for this. Go home.
And as you can see,
Hey,
there's
what's up?
a lot of them. There are over 1,200 voice clips. And some of them are near impossible and actually impossible to unlock. Specifically because, not getting into too many specifics right now, there are certain combinations of characters you cannot get.
Whoa!
But their voice clips are here.
Follow up for me.
The only difference,
Uh-oh.
the only way of
What shall
actually
I-
getting their voice clips and hearing them is if you
You're
have
kidding
the
me.
voice clip beside it,
Ah!
press X, and then
You will
quickly
pay for
move over
that.
to the locked one, and it will play the locked clip.
Thanks to me. Well, it's a natural result.
There is a specific reward, and that chime means that we got the reward, which involves playing through the game at least at a minimum 1.5
Oh,
times,
behind.
doing specific things.
Oh, it's a trap. I won't make your death in vain. Fight to live. Oh, good. I cannot die yet. Darn it. What can I do? I'm soaked in blood.
Yeah, definitely don't have that clip.
Really sorry. Fairy heal. Oh, great light. Antidote.
There's even some rare alternate ones for the same skills being used.
No matter how hard you try, it's useless.
Then you get to the very top here,
Mind
and
blast. Burst. Well,
you get some
let's
very
have it.
unique ones. But anyway, from unlocking 55% of the voice collection, we're going to start a new game with a slight tweak in the settings. Second Story was very technically conscious, because even though it was 1999, you could still have surround sound, which we're going to take advantage of. The DualShock was out, so you could either play with the Classic or the DualShock for vibration. And one thing we're going to do here is we have the selection between Claude and also Rena. I will be pronouncing it Rena, because I've always heard that in terms of Japanese pronunciation. We're going to be playing both at the same time. This is going to be a combined playthrough because between Claude and Rena's perspectives, there are unique things between them, including characters that you're able to play with. In terms of how we control in combat, we're going to move that to full active because I like to have full control over everything. Standard feels like you have full control over everything, but you don't. And when you unlock 55% of the voice collection, you get the battle rank option. On a fresh playthrough, you are locked to Earth difficulty, but you get access to Galaxy and Universe difficulty. I don't find Universe to be particularly fun because it just makes a lot of enemy huge sponges, so Galaxy difficulty gives a little bit more of a step up in terms of challenge.
Only the vast reaches of outer space can hold the myriad dreams of 10 billion people and still show them its infinite possibilities. Countless dreams expand through the vastness of space. But of course, some of them are nightmares. And now, I am here.
If you are new, something I don't particularly do with my videos is narrate dialogue. I tend to let the dialogue speak for itself. Like this one. Congratulations, Claude. You are a red shirt. Here is your deadly weapon phase gun. It's armed and ready to go. My goodness. Sorry, it's just that it was labeled like that. Remember that? Now, I will say with this section of the game, it is a huge mix of first impressions. Some good, some questionable. In terms of its mystery, setting us up with a scenario like this of being on this planet, figuring out what this very large dome is supposed to be here for, is a really good hook. But then you have the narrated scene right before it. I don't fault the voice acting. It's serviceable. But I do have questions about the sound mixing. And then leading into this part with arguably okay use of thunderstorm effects and whatnot, I find the sound design to be relatively inconsistent, leaning on good, but that's just the mix between the atmospheric background music to the actual tracks that we'll get into, and then also the voice clips. We must examine the shiny spot. He didn't do much. Slam that keyboard. Now, the thing about the dome in general is that from the landscape, it was huge. And I find that the dome itself is a little bit weird in terms of its scale. Like this door here looks like you could have 7 people across with extra space for that. And then we get actually inside the dome. Where it's just, I'm not sure how this tags into everything, other than whatever was inside the dome completely collapsing. But it's time to do some science. And learn what save points are. Go do your science somewhere else. Now I gotta find a science spot. Well, that's his science spot. All right. Well, I'm gonna find my science spot over here. We haven't finished our science yet. Don't do science yet. Claude is more prone to doing risky science. I was quite pleased in the remake, the remaster, how the dance kind of was preserved. This text line of, it's he disappeared, but without the disappeared, it's more like the officer is just saying, heh, heh. We're doing some science. If I go multiple times, not just 2, will I remain calm more often? Will the monsters impede my calmness in the forest? Wait. Come on, you gotta do more than that. But unfortunately, when you go off screen just slightly, that's enough in order to get your freedom. Here we go. I hope you like going back inside, because, you know, we have to talk to our mother once again. Hey, you just left. I yelled at you to wait. It's good to pick up a berry before we go. I hope you like Arlia, because it's a majority of this video. But it also gets to have an opportunity to deep dive into what a good beginning town is. I've had a lot of time in recent years just kind of re-exploring specifically PlayStation 1 RPGs and the towns and how they use them. Especially with playing Grandia recently and what they're able to do with their towns in terms of dialogue and everything. So yeah, we're going to be able to explore that too, on top of Reflections and Water. But the combination of 2 perspectives of playing this game, on top with Rena now and Claude eventually also being in this town, it's good to see how they're able to pull things off. Little boy and little girl, what's that picture over on the left there? Is that your mom, who is never mentioned in this household? With Rena being all on her own, yes, armor helps. But she certainly can't resurrect herself. Stores in this game are also was a little bit of ahead of its time there, where you have the ability to buy and sell at the same time, and if you're doing both, then you're able to just settle both accounts. The game just doing the in-game math. The total purchases and sales, and then what you're left with at the end. Well, time to nick your stuff. They do always talk about the earthquakes, and you kind of get a sense of them, but other than in the town dialogue, there's not much else to go on for now. And no wonder this kid is having trouble following the sermon. You throw a word like raiments at him. You think he knows what the word raiments mean, even in context? Also, priest, what exactly do you mean by raiments? What do they look like? What would you describe as alien? Why is it now that I'm just realizing that the save point glows? I don't know what it is with me, but I think there's a problem I have with Claude's sprite. And it has to come down to Claude's black shirt being too long compared to his jacket. It's always when he's turned around and we're looking at the back of him, because it looks like he's someone who wears his underwear over his pants. Well, good, Rena. We have a third data point for you. Now for some further investigation.
Bad. Here's the enemy.
Our first taste of combat? Shown in Claude's perspective, because when you do this in Rena's perspective, you don't get control. Full active gives us full support of moving Claude around, but of course we can't actually hit our creature over here. Normally, we do need to use our deadly weapon phase gun. So L1, and come on, hold still. Hold still. We do need to hit him a couple more times than normal because we're on Galaxy difficulty.
It was okay.
We'll get a better sense of combat a little later on.
Hey.
Now, a little behind the scenes kind of talk. Switching between Rena and Claude's perspectives here opens up a little bit behind the way that they were able to program this in. Because if you're at Claude's perspective or Rena's perspective, there is a little bit of a difference in camera placement, which, like Claude says, can't be helped. But when in this part of the game there is a lot of either very specific dialogue that's coming out of Claude and Rena respectively, including their internal monologue of what they're thinking, there's going to be some jumps in camera placement. Make a screen like this. Remember this screen. It's going to become important later. For many reasons. Like, look at those black underpants. Another behind the scenes bit is I could have went back and forth just to avoid the question marks over top because we know both of their names. But in this case, I actually kept it on the Rena's perspective because there's a little bit more to Claude's dialogue than on the Claude side. It's kind of strange. It's mostly like a word here and there, but I kind of like this dialogue better. It's mostly of the don't worry about it. Claude is just kind of shaking it off and being a little bit more courteous. I'm going to try not to compare this version with Second Story R, but there's this specific line here that Rena says that is actually better here because she spells it incorrectly. And that doesn't show up anymore. It does so much of a service to the text because Rena doesn't know what Earth is. So how could she even spell it correctly? It kind of shows that she is not informed about what Claude is saying right here. And it's not just Rena either, it's other people as well who we'll eventually meet pretty soon. Don't worry about it. You'll get very used to walking into other people's homes to see if they have anything to take. That line is far more relevant now than it was 10 years ago for me. Depends on what kind of town you're living in. First, I grew up in a town that had its biggest industry was a steel mill, so the air was always bad. Now I live near lumber territory, so now we're always dealing with that kind of air quality. Always getting air quality texts on my phone saying, fine particulate matter, air quality warning. So let's get Arlia from Claude's perspective. It's going to be quite different. Yep. Standoffish, uncertain. Going in and out, and I expect to be confusing a lot of people. Yep. Yeah, it's that spelling of Earth, which says so much. There it is, the spelling of spaceship. A spaceship. These signs, I don't feel like they really need to be there because there really isn't much of a difference between the east and west sides. The wording of machine. You can find almost anything except for a spaceship. This isn't one of those RPGs where you can buy a spaceship. There are those. What is that? Yeah, what is that picture right on the bottom, right next to Claude? Is okay, goodbye. I'm gonna be poking my head into the background details of a bunch of these rooms. I know people in the past have done that, and there's some weird ones that'll come up much later. But I find it interesting in order to see what the developers cluttered their game with. Like even back in this house, look at that wonderful lounge set they have on the right. And if you really wanted to be picky, one of them is smaller than the other in terms of the seats. And you have the couch and the wonderfully crafted table in the middle. At first, I always thought this was stairs down here, but that's just a water wheel. They have a stovetop in their kitchen. Come on, get through the door, thank you. Lovely piano with bits and bobs. And a nice balcony. It'll come up later, I'm sure. Terrible. I met someone. A big, huge monkey thing, though. Not talking about the guy. have no more places to look at, though. Well, I'll do a second round, I guess. Go ahead, do that. Even in Rena's perspective, there are some blunt lines. That's much better. Let's do that. This almost feels like a bad path to go down because, like, is that really what we were supposed to do? But I do like this tiny little scene here. So yeah, we do have to find him now, which means that we're in a new changeover of the town. Because now everybody has something to mention as we go and find Claude. I can't really be certain about how many different states Arlia goes through in this specific area, but I think, if I'm going through my head, we have Rena when she goes out to Shingo Forest, the Sacred Forest. Claude coming in, all by himself. We have this state of finding Claude. We'll have the state right after that. I could say that we have about 5 to 6 states, and that isn't even all of them because we'll have new states coming in later on in the story. It's quite fascinating how they have to juggle all of these different things based on the perspective that you have. And in all of this talking back and forth about Claude, there's not once do they play the amnesia card, which I'm grateful for. I haven't seen him. I've been looking at my husband directly in the eye. Oh, there he is. I'll eventually get there. He has left us. Not in that way, he just left and is right there. But I'm an old man, I can't see very well. He's in my peripheral vision, it's fine. This is such a weird prompt too, but like it has no context. But you know that's not how things went. Let's get the good path towards the next state. You know it's the good path because they use the word shucks. But it's also, there's more like pleasantries, there's more introductions. It's just a lot better than kicking Claude out. I would like to show you to my mom. Anyway. No matter if you are with Claude's perspective or Rena's perspective, you do get this state of Rena showing you around town. It all depends on whether or not Rena pops out in order to talk or not. Because Claude doesn't do that a whole lot in Rena's perspective. That's what a boyfriend is, someone to walk around with. Yeah, pay close attention that a carpenter lives here, because if anything from this first impression of the game inside of Arlia, some of this dialogue is important for you to pay attention to. It doesn't specifically tell you what, but pay attention to as much as you can. He'll be gone for 2 weeks. So you can play, Rena will tell you stories, and I took your strawberry jam out of the chest over there. I guess you have nothing to eat. You know it's a red flag when Claude doesn't even play along at all. In fact, he doubles down. She'll just make that remark and move on. I always wondered what that "so that's it" even means. Going like instant jealousy from Claude. I'm going like, no, not really. You could have replaced that line with like, "I see," or something like that. This couple will never be named. Yeah, there's just some selections in the dialogue that just don't really make sense instantly. I'm gonna talk past Claude, who doesn't know anything. Beyond this is no longer Arlia Village. Sure, why not? Rena's being at church is a bad omen. I always love this line too, of just like, oh, you're here, how extraordinary. Not something you would regularly say to someone. Well, according to this pink-haired lady over here, if I'm in church, it's gonna snow. I can only show you around the village. I know of nothing beyond the boundary. I know nothing. Now let's really get into these preparations that she has there. She apparently has helped herself to a big slice of cake. There's the big meat on the bone. There is what might be a duck that just was thrown into a deep fryer, and a Jello, and something right on the bottom there next to a green soda bottle. That poor bird, though. One awkward meal later. She's eaten up all of our life savings. This period of the story is also quite different, just from the music that they actually use. If you're at Claude's perspective, this track doesn't play, even though I'm making it. It's actually just Arlia's theme plays again, whereas this theme plays with Rena's perspective. But that's because there's more to do. Quickly call the mayor. We can't go up and say hello to Claude again, who doesn't realize that Rena's right there. It's like they made a line for him, but not in the way that it should be done. We do have this very rare scene, because I think it only happens twice, if I recall, of Arlia at night. But I need another data point of Shingo Forest at night. But no, there's only one place we can go to at night, in this case. As you repeatedly talk to the maid of this house, she even mentions in her dialogue how close or how long the mayor has been gone over to Salva, or the neighboring town. I'm forgetting exactly. It's just like, he'll be back in an hour. Oh, he'll be home soon. I better finish cleaning. Again, what are these alien raiments supposed to exactly be? Just clothes you've never seen before? If I really wanted to point out something, they have been interchangeably using the word traveling with 1 or 2 L's. It's one of those things constantly Googled of how do you spell this word correctly? And the answer is both, technically. And so we get a Mayor Regis in our party. Unfortunately, there isn't anything special about him. This section with Claude I always found awkward, because you're just kind of up here and you can't go downstairs. You can go into a room, but it'll be a while before we can pick up the blackberry in the chest there. But you really just kind of have to wander around up and down, and then eventually, once you exit this place again, then Westa shows up. Sometimes it's smooth, but over time, most of the time, it's just not. It's going like, what am I missing in order to trigger this scene? Oh? It's time for an after-dinner interrogation. Yes, I am Claude. Okay, Mayor, have you ever heard of the saying, it's about the journey, not the destination? Apparently not. I just wander around without any purpose of where I'm going. Point B, not important. I wonder about his use of the word spy. Like, spy how? Well, we have this flimsy legend. Define menace, define suffering. Yes, you do. Yeah, it's not a sword, it's a gun. At first I was thinking, it's like, well, also it's a sword that shoots things. I'm going like, that's a different game. But at the same time, there are swords in this game that do shoot things that we will eventually have. So, oops. In another game, they would have stretched out this warrior legend into not just an hour, but 5 hours before you had any sort of closure or telling the truth and evading all these lies. But it's nice that they just get this out of the way. Not completely, but the majority of it. Because there's far more important things that are happening in this story than just this. To get a little bit ahead of myself, when we do actually get to the crash site or see the crash site of this meteorite, Regis is putting things on pretty lightly. I know exactly how to pronounce that in my head, and I don't want to. But we will be hearing a lot about the sorcery globe throughout our adventure. Yes, but there's also a 3-month discrepancy between when Claude showed up and the Sorcery Globe did. But hey, I guess late is better than not arriving at all. And the other thing is, if the warrior were to show up, why show up at one of the last places that peace is still around? Just like, yeah, I'm going to be dropped there, but then I have to walk all the way there instead of dropped in the epicenter and then immediately get into action. And Claude trying to be as honest as possible without, one, going against the undeveloped peace pact, and really just trying not to overwhelm the people that he's around when it comes to, I'm from space and from a different planet and there are spaceships, and that's why I'm saying all of these weird words that no one understands in this village. We decree not the warrior. Gavel sound. That is quite a statement, though, from Regis. I've kind of held you on trial. The least I could do is give you a bed. A new day, but a little bit different. You mean in the forest? Or just around the town? You gotta be more specific. It's time to get that 4th data point. But also, new day, new state in the town. You were looking for him, then you have him, and now he's not around anymore. Where is he? Unfortunately, we can't even see him. He'll be up soon anyways. I don't even know what the animals look like. Were they something that you could pet? Oh, you're not with that other guy. Get back with the old guy. See, now the newlyweds are matchmakers. It immediately goes from, hello, let's talk with Rena to, you know what, Alan? That's really what I want to talk about. I don't want to talk about you. I want to talk about Alan. Jeez. Well, I thought I did. Now, I get the father with the capital F here, but whenever Rena is talking about Westa, it's always mother with a capital letter as well. I might be wrong grammar-wise, but I think you're able to just have it as a lowercase m. Yeah, a lot more character involved in the priest in terms of his responsibility to Rena. I couldn't say. Yeah, let's just go and clear our head. It's because of that scene that I really like the subtle exchange between Westa and Rena earlier on. Now, it's from here that the Claude perspective actually picks up something unique. Rena's currently in the Shingo Forest, but Claude has some options. So we have a free resting space and a weapon that isn't our gun. Better than nothing. It's triple that. So like Regis said, Claude can either go to Salva and completely not even think about Rena at all. In Claude's perspective, going to see Rena in the Shingo Forest is optional. But it's about time that we actually pick up the Blackberry over there for Claude. Of course, we're not going to do that because in the Rena perspective, that scene is going to happen no matter what. Not the flashback scene, but what happens next? Claude has definitely been oversleeping based on what everybody's telling him. Oh, we don't want to talk to you. Like, their lovey-dovey bubbles up their head go away, and it's just like, ugh. Now we gotta talk with a guy. We can say, yes, I do know him, but that actually just cuts the conversation off almost completely. It's like, okay, we don't have to say anything. Depends on how long Alan has been trying. She's a bit topsy-turvy in terms of her devotion. I am Claude. And we get his name, Marshall. Yeah, you just said that. Sometimes the dialogue just goes into very, very small loops. Claude gets the news about Rena's dad. I should say, quote, dad. Of course, we're going to go and see Rena in the forest. We're not going to miss this opportunity. I'm always going to appreciate the game for its very, very subtle dialogue exchanges. Just Claude and Rena saying good morning to each other just does something for me. Again, I would love to see what this legend is supposed to look like. And so Claude and Rena will go their separate ways. Not our concern. Claude's concern is heading to Salva, finding some answers. They absolutely make sure to give you this direction once you head out of the village for the first time. And I think that's enough of a head start that Rena can start heading back now herself. Now that I think about it some more, the capitalization on mother is just too much of a tiny point to really keep thinking about. But he's not waiting for Claude. He's waiting for Rena. Now I keep forgetting, because Tax isn't Alan's last name. So I keep forgetting the reason why Alan Tax shows up here as his name, other than, well, what's going to happen. He's gray-black and is wearing a red cape. Run. She can't move diagonally. She can, but not when 3 people are around. And amazingly, the scene keeps going. They could have just cut to black and that could have been the end of it. But no, the town also needs to react to this. Rena's not going to be taken quietly. Just no. The dialogue here does dance around the subject of what Alan is trying to convey. We can preach about God, but we can't threaten to kill anybody. See you next time, everyone.